Well, Bruno Fernandes almost single-handedly tried so hard to inspire Manchester United to a win away from home against Bournemouth. We knew it was going to be hard, Stevie, because of the last time Bournemouth played Manchester United
Yeah.
at Old Trafford, and they absolutely clapped them up. And it looked like they were on course to doing that again, but they did have to share the points in the end. United just getting away and saving themselves from an injury time penalty for Bournemouth. I know you cannot wait to get stuck into this one because you were getting stuck into me as the game was going on. But let's start with the overall result then. How would both sides be feeling? Do you think it's a fair one?
Um, Listen, I think if you'd asked me that at half time, I think it would have been an easier one to answer because at half time, Bournemouth should have had four, maybe more. I mean, they got two, but Clivert should have scored. Onana with an incredible save with his left hand. Kezikas should have scored as well with a header. He ended up putting it onto the crossbar. I mean, that should have been in the back of the net. Again, listen, if you're United, you would argue that they got one and Bruno hit the crossbar with the last kick of the first half. But in all honesty, this was the usual Manchester United in the first half. You know, they couldn't stop Bournemouth getting at them. Bournemouth were just flooding through the middle of the park. And pretty much every time they went forward, they looked as though they were going to create. And they certainly made Onana make some saves, and they did score two goals. I mean, at half-time, clearly Ten Hag's had a few words. Manchester United in the second half were way tighter all over the field. But because they were way tighter, they really didn't offer too much going forward. At the same time, Bournemouth in the second half were a little bit similar. They didn't look as sharp, and they weren't quite as incisive as they had been in the first half. And but for that penalty decision at the end, the second half, there really wasn't an awful lot to talk about. But I think at the end of the day, they'll both take a point. I think United should be happy with a point, considering where they could have been at half-time. Bournemouth will be disappointed they didn't score more goals in that first half, but really didn't create too much in the second. So I guess they'll both take a point.
So overall, you're definitely not impressed with Manchester United, Stevie. What's new? I agree with you on that one. But one of the, in terms of the team news early on, Willie Kambwala, he started after just 3 appearances so far for the Red Devils, only 19 years old.
Yeah.
So of course we have to give him some time to grow. But it looked like Bournemouth had some time, at least in that first half, where they kind of targeted his side, didn't he? Overall, how did you think he did, especially considering United's defense has been under a magnifying glass recently?
Well, I'm afraid he was at fault for both Bournemouth goals. As good as he's played in his other starts, he looked like a 19-year-old today. You know, he falls over on the first goal because he gets his feet in the wrong place. And the second goal, he doesn't close the ball properly. You know, if he gets closer to Clivert, then he maybe can block the shot. But at the very least, you've got to be closer than he was. You have to step out. You can't just keep backing off. So yeah, it wasn't his greatest day. But in some ways, he got away with it because Bruno Fernandes bailed them out with a nice goal in the first half, and then of course the penalty in the second half. But yeah, it wasn't a great day for United's youngsters. Garnacho wasn't at his best today either. He's been the kind of one of the shining lights. Well, one of the very few shining lights for United recently. He gave the ball away for the first goal that started it all off. And although he looked lively, he really didn't produce anything of any note. So it wasn't a great day for the Man United youngsters. And in general, it actually wasn't a very good day for United all around.
Yeah, definitely. There were a couple of big decisions that had to be made, of course, a couple of handball shouts, one that resulted in a penalty as well. There, of course, there was one towards the end, but the penalty given against Adam Smith, though, because we saw a similar situation with Harry Maguire where the ball kind of just bounced back on them. Yes, I don't think we'll argue that it was a penalty, but unlucky for Adam Smith, isn't it? Or how did you see it, Stevie?
Well, I think you've been very nice to Adam Smith. It's obviously just a reaction, you know, because his elbow is tucked in, but there's no question he throws his arm towards it. Maybe throws not the right word, but there's a gesture towards the ball, and he's far enough away from from the deflection that he shouldn't have done that. And you can't really argue. And he wasn't arguing. You could see how disappointed he was. But he certainly wasn't chasing the referee, and there certainly wasn't many Bournemouth players arguing with the referee about it. And I've got to say, you could say the same about the penalty decision in the last minutes of the game. You know, once the free kick had been given outside the box, I really didn't see too many Bournemouth players. And certainly Christie wasn't going crazy. Nobody was chasing the referee again. And I think the referee got the decision right with the help of VAR, because if you cannot 100% say that it's inside the box, then you can't give a penalty. So I think overall the referee got both of those decisions right.
All right, well, in the overall picture now, of course, Bournemouth probably just trying to see the season out at this point. Manchester United, I could say, are still in some sort of a battle in terms of where in Europe they will play next season. Obviously, I knew you were going to chuckle. From what we saw today,
I wondered where you were going there. I wondered, you were desperate to say top four, and you realised that was wrong.
I was desperate. Hey, so one never knows. But there's still 10 points off of top four. I should say it like that. 10 points off of Spurs. Spurs dropped
6
points.
games to go.
Today, exactly. No, forget it. Europa League at best.
Newcastle might overtake them eventually. Newcastle coming with a late run. I think that's the 4th draw in a row in the Premier League for United. I mean, if you keep this up, then absolutely no chance they won't be in Europe.
Well, Newcastle have already overtaken them. They're just ahead of them, but they are level on points. But I suppose after what we saw from Newcastle today, you could see that they're finishing strongly while United still stuttering somewhat. In terms of what Erik ten Hag is thinking after this game, because again, so close to a semi-final, a big semi-final. People would say maybe the easier of the FA Cup semi-finals, considering it's against Coventry City. But you want to go with some strong performances. And as you said, United have just been stuttering in their last couple of performances, barring that wonderful win against Liverpool.
Let me just stop you there. They haven't been stuttering the last couple of performances. They've been stuttering all season. But the truth of the matter is, Ten Hag, his team hasn't produced any. I can't think of any performance of note on football terms, as far as dominating somebody from the first minute to the last minute with some clinical, fun to watch, exciting, pacey football. I mean, that's just not what you can say at all about United this season. And that's probably going to be the reason why Ten Hag loses his job. Listen, you can lose football games. Sometimes you get decisions against you. Sometimes you get deflected. There's all kinds of reasons. But the one thing that you cannot say is that United have been good to watch this season. It's been painful, and I'm sure from Man United fans it's been hard to take.
I love the little grin that you do say that with, Stevie. Finally, just before we go, just a thought, I suppose, on Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, a lot to criticize about Manchester United. He's come under a lot of criticism, I would suppose, in the last year, being a Manchester United captain, whether he had the right attitude. But today, he definitely displayed why he has been trusted with the armband.
Yeah, I mean, he's quality. There's no question. When they can get him the ball in the right areas, he can produce. Whether it's a strike, whether it's you taking a penalty kick, whether it's, the guy's got ability, and most teams would like him on their side. Whether he's captain material, I'm not so sure. But the truth is, United don't really have anybody that's captain material, and so he's okay as far as that's concerned. But as a player, yeah, he's fantastic.
All right, we'll leave it at that. More doom and gloom for Manchester United. I'm sure that's exactly what they want to hear. Bournemouth, I suppose, may feel like they could have gotten a lot more from that game, but in the end, the two sides definitely have to share the points.